I had to get the music clip in there. I'm turning it over to Sarah and Rebecca for our Outings Program Power Hour. Take it away, Sarah.
Fabulous. I'm all hyped up now. I feel like a superhero. But like I feel like a superhero whenever I do outings. So there's my little plug. There's like the segue. So I'm gonna start out here with a quote. It is an unquoted quote. So I'm not quite sure who said it. It might have been me. Who knows? But an outing simply needs to be a time where we reduce barriers and expand access for all people to explore and enjoy nature. A lot of people think that in order to be an outings leader, you need to love to do these big, long, elaborate outings, like the overnight backpacking trips or the kayak trips down the river with all of these rapids and like everything like that. No, an outing is anything that gets people outdoors and enjoying nature. You can go to the next slide. Cool. So, as part of that, we have developed an Outdoors for All theory of change that has three main goals: reduce barriers and expand access for people to explore and enjoy nature, integrate outings and outdoor activities into Sierra Club culture, campaigns, programs, and activities at the national and local levels, and establish clear pathways for engagement between outings and advocacy. What does that mean? That means that all of our outings at Sierra Club are either, well, at the local level, are either free or at cost. Because sometimes there are outings where we use concessionaires and people might need to rent a kayak or something along those lines. But we try to make there to be no barriers to access, right? That we we try to integrate all of our outings into all of our work. So if you are part of a campaign, how can an outing connect with that? How can you get people outside and enjoying nature while also showing them something that you're working on, right? And that's the same kind of deal with outings and advocacy. People are more likely to become involved if they can see the things firsthand, right? They're becoming stewards of that area. You can go ahead and switch to the next slide, Melissa. There's going to be a bunch of pictures in here because I like pictures. I'm a visual person. All of we have a very robust outings program here in Pennsylvania. There are some chapters that don't have as robust of an outings program, and that is sad. But we are building up our program year over year. We just had an outings leader training last weekend, actually. So we've got some new provisional leaders that we're hoping to bring on board, and we're doing more and more trainings every year, right? But as you're looking at the outings, as I was saying, they don't have to be big, elaborate outings. They can be ones outside in nature, like the hike that we had on the left there. But they could be a community garden walking tour. They could be a cemetery stroll. We've had outings where people lay on the grass in a park and learn about clouds. Um, so they can be as complex or as simplistic as I like them to be. Go ahead, Melissa. They can be any time of the year. Nature does not hibernate. Well, nature does hibernate, but outings don't have to. So these are a couple of outings that happen during winter months. We've still got some outings up on the calendar for the next couple of weeks. We've got one coming up next Friday for Opt Outside. We've got some first day hikes planned. We've got a possible snowshoeing hike planned. So no matter what time of the year, there'll be like you can do an outing. Go ahead. Whether by land or by sea, that's what these next two slides are going to be. So these are pictures of a bike outing that we held this summer. And then we did a Transit Equity Day outing earlier in the year. I believe it was in February around Transit Equity Month. But that one involved folks taking public transit to and from the outing. So that's our by land. And then if by sea is the next slide, go ahead. We you can do a kayaking trip, rafting trips, stand-up paddleboard, and then you can take water to an advocacy action. The one picture on the right there is from a refinery tour that was done by Kayak a few years back. Go ahead, Melissa. So what is the outings program, right? There are a bunch of different sections of the outings world within Sierra Club. The one that I'm going to be talking about today is local outings because that's what we have the majority of here in Pennsylvania. Local outings are volunteer led, they are free, they are open to anybody, and they can be as simple as like an hour long walk in a park or as difficult as you would like them to be. There are also Inspiring Connections Outdoors programs. That's our youth-led portion of the outings world, and Rebecca's going to talk about that a little bit later. National outings, those are our larger scale outings. When you think about like the trips to Yosemite or like the international trips that Sierra Club runs, that's through the National Outings program. And if you're interested in becoming more involved in that, I can connect you with the folks that run that program as well. Those do have a fee. They act as a like a fundraising tool for the organization. But there's some pretty interesting trips that are done. And then outings led as a tactic of Sierra Club campaigns. So we have a program called Military Outdoors that works to connect veterans with outdoor spaces. Our Wild America, Beyond Coal, the Dirty Fuels campaign, and even like the chapter and group initiatives, those can be linked into the outings program. So go ahead. So local outings, like I said, that's the portion that I'm going to be talking about. Local outings, we have outings leaders in all 10 of our groups across the state. So when you look at that map of the outings, and I think that's the next slide, actually, you can go ahead and advance and see. No, I lied. It's two out, but we'll get there. So when you look at that map of the group breakdown of Pennsylvania, there are outings that are happening all across the state, and volunteer outings leaders, like hopefully you all, are the ones that are running those trips. Because for a lot of people, Sierra Club outings are the first touch point with the organization, right? How did you find out about Sierra Club? Oh, I went on an outing. Our outings program is like very often the face of the organization. It's how people connect with us and it's how people get in the door. So this power of connection slide, we're one Sierra Club. Yes, we have chapters all across the state. We have 63 chapters. We have groups within those chapters. There are outings instructors that teach the outings leaders, that run the outings, that bring the participants in. But overall, like one action can make a huge difference, right? It's not just one person leading one outing. It's like 5,000 plus outings leaders leading 15,000 plus outings a year. It really adds up. Go ahead. There it is. So in the beginning, I mentioned that I live in Northeast Pennsylvania, so I'm not part of the Northeast group. And we have we ran 2 outings this month. Some groups lead more outings per month than others. Some might lead more outings on a quarterly basis. So you'll want to check that events page that Melissa had linked earlier to find out when outings are happening. I see a mention in the chat about service trips. Yes, I'll be talking about that in a little bit. But you can go ahead, Melissa. So, on top of the trips that are led at the group level, we offer 2 chapter outings every year. So these are some photos from our chapter outings this year. We did a trip to Ricketts Glen in June. That was open to all volunteer leaders or all volunteers and their families. So it's not quite open to all of our member base. It's only open to folks that are active volunteers within the chapter. It's more of an appreciation and community building opportunity. But that's a completely free trip. If you need support with like camping gear or food or anything like that, we cover the costs for that. And it was a really great time. That trip was taken on the Falls Trail. If folks haven't been there before, it's a beautiful trail, but it definitely works your legs out. And then the a photo on the right is from our cabin camping trip at Hickory Run, which we do in August. And that one is great for first time campers. It's open to literally everyone. Well, not literally everyone, but it's open to our members and our supporters. It's open to our partner organizations because it's a much larger space. So this year we had about 120 people at the Hickory Run camping trip, and it's an all hands on deck operation. We have a lot of volunteers behind the scenes who are running outings, that are running programming, that are helping out with the registration table, that are doing food prep duty. So that is definitely an outing that we need a lot of support for throughout the year to plan. But it's a great opportunity to meet some new folks and get out and enjoy nature. Told you, lots of pictures. So, our outings are for everyone, right? They're not just for the typical folks that you think of as outdoor people. You don't need to have all of the fancy gear. You don't need to be rugged. You don't need to have anything owned by Patagonia in order to enjoy the outdoors. And so here's a couple of pictures that we have of some family friendly activities that we've offered in the past. Like I said, it could be as simplistic as being outside doing some nature crafts. Go ahead, Melissa. I'm going to pass it over to Rebecca to talk about ICO since we are talking about family friendly activities.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello again, everyone. So I'm going to talk briefly about our youth program that we have with Sierra Club called Inspiring Connections Outdoors, otherwise known as ICO. And like I said, that's our department that serves unaccompanied minors and youth participants. And so anybody who volunteers for ICO has to go through a couple of extra steps to be allowed legally to work with unaccompanied minors. If you're not familiar with an unaccompanied minor, that means a person under 18 who is attending an outing without a legal guardian present. So if you are interested in being an ICO leader, we can talk about what the additional steps are needed for you to do that. We have two official ICO groups in Pennsylvania. One is here in Philadelphia, and the other is in Harrisburg. So I work very closely with the Philadelphia ICO group. We have a number of volunteers and we have two awesome co-chairs, and we work with a bunch of school groups or youth serving organizations and teachers to help kids, particularly from underrepresented communities, get outside and do all kinds of really fun outdoor programming, such as, yes, hikes, but also orienteering, birding, scavenger hunts, nature photography, you name it, all kinds of things. So if you would like to get involved in volunteering to work with youth, you can feel free to reach out to me. And I will also say that, like I said, although we have the two groups in Harrisburg and Philadelphia, if you're interested in working with unaccompanied minors, you do not have to live near those areas nor be part of those groups. What we will do is we'll still get a background check from you. We will have you do some extra training and get some extra clearances to work with youth. And then you'll be able to do so. And you can help work with partner organizations or schools to help get youth outside, doing all kinds of outdoor activities and or doing service trips as well. And it's really, really fun and really rewarding. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you're interested in learning more. It's great. Next slide, please. These are some examples of outings that we've done with ICO. These ones were both in Philly. The one on the left took place at Ridley Creek State Park this past summer. You can see we have some creek exploration. That was really fun. That was with a partner organization that I work with a lot, Puentes de Salud. And then on the right, that took place, I believe, at John Hines. That was a couple of years ago. We did a fishing program, and John Hines has fishing poles that they lend out. So as a volunteer, you'll be able to learn about kind of all the different ways to increase resources for your groups, whether they be ICO or general public outings. A lot of the state parks do have like gear lending programs or, other kinds of resources that are available to you. So we are always here to help you navigate that. I think that that is the last slide on ICO. Yes, thank you.
Yes, back to me. All right, so we've heard some conversation in the chat about how can we connect, right? It's not just about wanting to be in community with other people, but how do we build upon it? How do we make the world a better place through outings, right? So you can find out about different issues that are happening at the chapter by becoming a member of one of the other teams, by reaching out to your group or one of the chapter staff that is focusing on a particular issue, and you can connect those into your outings. You can go ahead, Melissa. And there are tons and tons of service and advocacy outings that are happening across the state every year. So this image here was from a cleanup that we ran in northeastern Pennsylvania last year. We do a spread of community cleanups all throughout Earth Month that connect different organizations that are focused in that particular area with a cleanup location. And so we'll bring folks out and we clean up a bunch. We've picked up over 120 bags of trash so far this year. And we are in the planning process for our cleanups for the spring. So if you're interested in that type of deal, we have those. We do tree plantings, trail maintenance, invasive removals. We have toxic tours, clean energy tours. So we'll take people out to look at like abandoned orphan well sites, new solar arrays that are being put up. We've done legislative outings in the past where we've connected local legislators with a particular outdoor issue that we want them to focus on. So the sky's the limit. If if you want to do something outside that is a service project, we are happy to help. That's where outings comes into play. Go right ahead. We've got some pictures coming up too. So the next two slides are some of our service outings that we've done over the last few years. There's a invasives removal project that we did at Hickory Run. We've done several orphan and abandoned wells outings over the last few years because we have a lot of them here in Pennsylvania. So that's an image of a well survey that was done in Western Pennsylvania. You can go to the next slide. The one on the left is from a trail maintenance outing that was done on the Midstate Trail earlier this year. And then on the right-hand side is an image from a frac pad hike that we did on the Loyalsock Trail at the fall of last year that highlighted some of the damage that happens in our public lands from fracking infrastructure. You can go to the next one. So we've talked a lot about what the Outings program is, but not how to get involved, right? So there are some requirements in place because you are responsible for other people when you are doing an outing. You are bringing people out and you are making sure that the same number of people make their way back to the trailhead at the end of the outing, right? And in the same condition that you started out with. So in order to become an outings leader, you need to be a Sierra Club member. And like Melissa had said, that is for liability purposes. So our insurance won't cover you if you are not a member, right? You have to be over 18 years of age, although we do have youth outings leaders that are between the ages of 14 and 17. So if you have a younger person in your life that may want to be an outings leader, they can go through the process as well. But if you are under the age of 18, you just need to have someone over the age of 18 who is also a certified outings leader with you on any of your outings. You need to have basic first aid certification. We suggest that all of our outings leaders have CPR as well. But from national, the bare minimum guidelines is basic first aid. You need to complete an outings leader training. So we offer them twice a year. We just held one last weekend. We have another one coming up in February. And there is a self-paced training that you can take online if you can't make any of our in-person trainings. So we can set you up with that training. It goes over all the logistics, how to like how to plan an outing, what forms need to be filled out, what happens if something were to happen on your outing, all of those good things. And then You have to have a skill set appropriate to the activity you're leading. If you've never been rock climbing, we ask that you don't lead a rock climbing outing. If you don't know how to swim, please don't take people out on kayaks. Provisionally lead an outing. So you would go, your first outing that you plan would have a mentor on it, someone who can, shadow your trip, make sure that you are doing okay, give you feedback, help you out in the planning process. And then once you've gone through everything else, the final stamp is approval by your outings chair that you are good and set to go, right? So it seems like a lot of requirements, but it boils down to, are you a member over the age of 18? Do you feel confident bringing people outside? Have you gone through the training to be able to bring people outside? And do other people think that you are okay to do that as well? It's it's pretty basic. Okay, next slide. Once you become an outings leader, we have some things in place to maintain your certification, right? Because things change over time. So you need to keep your membership active. You need to keep your first aid certification active. So you need to take a first aid training once every 2 years. There are some particulars in place if you can't get to a first aid training about the virtual first aid training, but we can talk about that at a future time. You need to submit any proposals for outings to be approved by your group or your chapter outings chair. That is so that way we can make sure that all of the logistics are in place and you didn't miss anything. It's just a second set of eyes. You have to register all of your outings on Campfire, which is how you registered for this event today. And we would train you up on how to do that. You'd need to take an outings leader training once every 4 years because, like I said, things change. New stuff gets added all the time. But if you are an active outings leader, there's a refresher training, so you don't need to take the full long training every 4 years. And then additional trainings and certifications. We hold trainings throughout the year that you can come to or not come to if you want to advance your skills. We'll do trainings on like how to do tree identification for your different outings, or we'll do trainings on how to work with partners or how to do outreach for outings. So there's those type of opportunities available. But then there's a possibility that if you wanted to go out and do a training with another organization that may have a cost associated with it, if you have demonstrated that you are committed to the outings program, we can help cover the costs for additional certifications like wilderness first aid or kayak safety and rescue with those type of deals as well. So yes, that's that big long slide. We can go to the next one. So what else? Yes, like I said, there's a little bit of paperwork involved. You have to fill out an outings plan, which has a safety management plan attached. Essentially, where's the closest hospital? What do I do if something goes wrong? What if it starts lightning? What if there's lightning and I need to get everybody off the trail really quick? Just kind of thinking through all of those logistics. You have to post it online. You have to check in with people. So you have to email them beforehand. You need to email them afterwards to follow up. But there's some support in place there if you're not a very tech savvy person, we've got your back. And we ask that ideally our leaders lead at least 2 outings a year, but that's up to your own capacity. We have some leaders that can only lead 1 outing a year, and we've got outings leaders that lead 1 or 2 a month, right? So it's all based on your own capacity and how much you want to do. And then outings can be anything you want them to do. We have a few outings that are called restricted outings that have some extra prep and paperwork involved with them. Those are going to be like your bouldering outings, or if you wanted to take people on like an aircraft or a motorboat or something along those lines where there's a little bit of extra risk involved. But they're not off the table. And then last, but definitely not least, you're never alone, right? All of our outings have at least 2 leaders. There's if it's something that is going to involve a lot of interaction, you can have more folks on board as well. But we don't want our volunteers being out and having to do things on their own, right? And then we have a team to support our leaders throughout the process. We have regular meetings that happen, spaces where folks can come in and collaborate and talk through ideas for different outings. Our next outings leader campfire call is coming up next month. And that's a space for folks that are in any spot along the process. So provisional leaders, fully certified leaders, group outing shares that help with the paperwork but don't actually lead outings themselves. They all come into that space and they talk about outings together, and we offer like operational updates at that time and training opportunities. So we have a team. There's, like I said, there's outings leaders all across the state. There's outings leaders across the country. And once you become certified as a local leader with the organization, you can do outings anywhere. So if you decided after like that you were going to move to Colorado or North Dakota, you could still do outings in those other states as well. Next slide. So like I said, I was kind of going into that. You're not alone. We're part of a team. You would start, and as Melissa had mentioned earlier, there's always a pathway to leadership within the volunteers like ladder of engagement, right? So you would start out as a volunteer outings leader, but then if you decided that you wanted to become more involved, you could become a group chair, you could be a chapter outings chair. Um, I mean, it might be a little bit difficult once you get up into those higher echelons, but the chapter director, the chapter deputy director, that's me, and then there's outdoor activities staff at the national level that can support as well. So there's a whole support network in place, and you can move your way up the ladder as well. We're getting close to the end there. Got some more pictures. Sometimes we offer outings that are specifically for our outings leaders. So they're not open to the general public. They're just an opportunity for outings leaders to talk amongst themselves. We'll offer member hikes if you're trying to increase membership within a group. Sometimes we'll offer outings as an incentive. We can do fundraising outings. But the majority of our outings are, like I said, free and open to everyone. You don't need to be a member to attend. Go ahead. That's it. So save the date. Our next outings leader training is happening in Harrisburg on February 22nd. We generally offer one in-person training a year and one virtual training a year because Pennsylvania is a big state and it takes a while to drive across it. So the one in February is going to be our in-person training for the year. If you can't make it, then we can set you up with the virtual self-paced training, or we have the virtual training that's happening in the fall. And our last slide, that's us. So that's our contact information. You can reach out to either myself or Rebecca, and we'll be in touch.